a couple of bonus local things. Roy, we didn't get to your after the game with Roy that he does when? When do you do that?
The next one will be
after
on
the
Friday.
game. After the game is when you do that.
Featuring Roy.
Featuring Roy. We didn't get to the Panthers game last night, and Mike Ryan is here to proclaim that the University of Miami basketball team, men's basketball team, is going to win the championship.
Blue Bloods.
He likes how they look.
Right.
He's very excited about
game.
how they look. But Roy, after the game last night, you did an after the game, correct?
No.
Because it's on the road. You only do after the game?
No, they're at home.
Well, hold on a second.
Fine.
After some games.
Yeah, after some games. After select games.
Not every game, though.
Will we know when, or did it just like?
Yeah, and the next one will be on Friday.
Right.
Okay.
Why not after wins, though? I mean.
Well, you don't know that going into
Right.
it. That
That's
they're gonna
fair.
win.
Fair.
How did you choose to sit this one out?
My partner David Dwork can only attend on Fridays.
Wait, so then the
There's
show,
always
okay.
a scheduling issue.
So then the show will only be Fridays after games.
After the game.
no,
on
this
home game.
this Friday is when he's.
Is it after the game on Thursday?
Depends on the schedule.
You should consider
Well,
that as the name. After the game on
depending on
Thursdays.
Dwork's
Depending on
schedule.
Dwork's schedule.
But Dave can only do Fridays. You
But he
said.
can only
this
do
week. No,
every
just
Friday?
this week.
this
he can
week.
only
What
do
about
Just
next
this
week? Can we get a month out so we just kind of know what to expect?
Is this all
I'll
the
let you
title?
know.
Is this all the title?
Yeah, this is the entire
working,
title.
Working title.
And UM's
Ellipsis.
win over NJIT convinced you they're going to be national champions.
It was the growth that the individual players made in terms of what Baby Food does now. Baby Food put on about 15 pounds of pure muscle as one of the strongest players in the history of that program, a program that had Jimmy Graham playing basketball. He's shooting threes now. Looks like a natural at it. Has a nice feathery touch from the outside. Wooga's made jumps. Nigel Pack is a second year in this system. You give Jim Larinaga an okay point guard, he's making the tournament. You give him a former all Big 12 point guard, a second year in that system, they're going to be stellar. I'm very excited about Miami men's hoops. Blue Bloods are back.
That closes all of our local meanderings. I want to take up a complaint that we've got here because someone heard yesterday's show and writes in, why is Dan so against due process? Jim Harbaugh is a public employee. There are procedures governments must follow regarding discipline of public employees. I don't think I was out here advocating for get Jim Harbaugh out of here before due process. I was just mildly surprised that before all of the information is in, the president of Michigan has opted to go all in on we're protecting the money, we're protecting the cheater, we're protecting our employee, we're protecting this guy, as what trickles out again and again seems like perhaps he shouldn't be protected because you've got the unusual circumstance, Stugotz, and I know we can all think that all the other coaches in the conference are trying to get the competitive advantage of nuking his school, and that can be part of their agenda, and they can also be truly appalled by how brazen all of this cheating was, and Connor Stallion still, it's confusing to me how it is that he was embedded on the Central Michigan sideline without anyone noticing how close he was to other people. Even understanding that a sideline can have a lot of people on it. I'm telling you, Stugotz, based on just trying to get Lucy's credentials every week,
Right.
that it's fairly seriously regulated who could be that close to the players and who could be that close to the other coaches. And I don't know exactly why Central Michigan is skating on the general incompetence of we had someone in a disguise on our sideline. Someone credentialed that. He didn't jump over a fence.
Right. We're sending Lucy to big games, though, at big schools, Bedlam, stuff like that. Like, Dan, I feel like if I show up to a Central Michigan game, I could get down to the sidelines. I do.
I don't.
Yeah, without a credential. I do.
Well,
Yeah.
How about being there?
Send me there.
How about his
Deal. Send you there. Deal. Can you go this weekend, Stugotz?
I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, but next weekend I'm in.
It's absolutely mind-boggling to think that a guy dressed like a Miami Dolphins coach, but not a Miami Dolphins coach, could be on the sideline during a game, and nobody's going, hey, who's that guy? It's unheard of.
in hearing you guys talk it out, look, it doesn't seem like it was a secret what Connor Stallions was doing. Perhaps Central Michigan turned to Connor Stallions. I'm just saying, like, you can't ignore that possibility given all the offenses here and how difficult it might be to get that specific position on the sideline. And Jim McElwain said all the right things in his press conference, but there is a scenario here where Connor Stalions might have been there to help out Central Michigan, too. You can't rule that out. The advancement on the story since last night was the Big Ten sent Michigan a notice of possible disciplinary action. Everyone seems to think this is headed toward the Big Ten handing Jim Harbaugh his suspension down just as their schedule is about to get serious.
Yeah, but that's getting off easy. I mean, if Jim Harbaugh is suspended for 2 games compared to what the punishment could be, I mean, worst case scenario, they're disqualified from the college football playoff. It's something on the field punishment.
Guys, when you consider the year that Michigan has had, keep in mind this would be Jim Harbaugh's second suspension of the season.
Right.
When you consider the investigations with computer crimes and all that, and now this, at what point do you invoke lack of institutional control? Because whatever is happening at Michigan does seem to be a little out of control.
No, he was in control of all of it. He just says that you're not, so you don't get in trouble for it. Seems very much like he had control of the situation.
We're not giving credit to the proper person here. Connor Stalions is amazing at what he does.
Really good.
If other teams are being like, buddy, come over here, do this for us, how does he steal the signs for every game? How does he do it? It's incredible.
He should be hired already by another school, right?
The NFL. The Patriots.
I want to ask Billy and Stugotz something about what's happening with Chris Sims on God Bless Football, because I see a lot of this.
Thought it was a Jimmy update.
I see a lot of this every week. There will be no updates on that.
Really?
The conversation is closed.
We'll get him from Greg then. I mean,
I get a lot of this every week, and I think Chris Sims is exceptional. But also, I think people get unreasonably mad about football takes. And then whether it's Orlovsky or Chris Sims, if the takes are particularly strong, what ends up happening is their careers get criticized and their credibility gets debunked by what their playing careers were, because Chris Sims and Orlovsky weren't great NFL quarterbacks.
I don't like where this is going.
No, just I'm asking,
shouldn't,
what is happening here that I get a tweet that says, can't wait until Chris Sims is unemployed giving his awful takes to his family members who can't stand him either. That Chris Sims lands wrong on people. Is it because of the strength of his opinions? Because he has very strong opinions, but they're usually very informed opinions. Like he's not.
he told us, 3 or 4 weeks ago that C.J. Stroud was the best rookie quarterback he's ever seen. He told us the Ravens were the best team in the NFL a couple of weeks ago. But people get mad at Chris Sims. I think locally it has something to do with Tua and the Dolphins.
No, definitely locally.
I'm not talking about locally, though. I'm talking about what is happening with God Bless Football, Chris Sims, and his opinions, and why Chris Sims particularly is polarizing as one of these people that I think is better than most of the people doing that. That requires, lest you think everybody gets to be Stugotz and we just turn on a microphone and you get to give your opinion. What Chris Sims does requires hours and hours of meticulous researched work. He doesn't arrive at his opinions just to say something to provoke people.
No, he studies a lot. He watches every game back for hours and hours. Every week he comes with a notebook of handwritten notes that he's taken. And
On every game.
It's sports. I mean, people don't like being told that their team is not as good as they want their team to be. And, like when you're an analyst and you're watching film and you know what you're talking about and you know what you're looking for, you can say certain things and you can have projections on players, and players don't always end up the way that you think that they're going to end up. So inevitably what happens is if you're high on someone and they don't pan out to be as great as you think they're going to be, then people will laugh at you and say you don't know what you're talking about. But, ultimately it's sports. People don't like being told what they don't like to hear.
But also, Billy is the one who led the charge in attacking his playing career. And so people are rallying. Billy, they are rallying behind you. You know that. They are, Billy. They're getting behind you because Sims was mean back to you. He was.
So Chris,
you did it, Billy.
Maybe. Well, this is
what happened to mean? I didn't know there was a mean.
I stood up for myself, Dan, and sometimes if a bully punches you in the face, you got to punch him right back. Let that be a lesson, kids, but don't hit people at the same time. This is what happened is Chris Sims has a bit of a lip on him sometimes, and he likes to he's identified me as the weakest in the bunch, so he tries to come after me a lot, which I don't see how he could probably get that. I've always fancied myself as an alpha, but he doesn't think that's the case. So, yeah, he comes after me, and he was trying to make fun of me because I was wearing Marlins clothes, and he's like, oh, Marlins season's already over. You're still wearing those loser things? Why are you still representing the Marlins? They're a loser, blah, blah, blah. To which I retorted, you're still talking about football, and you were horrible at it.
Wow. Yeah. Lippy Chris Sims.
And then I felt bad immediately. It was immediate regret.
He sent me a text.
Well, because did he really?
No, you did.
Oh, yeah, no, I sent him a text right after. I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. In part because I know I'm going to see him at the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. And last year when I saw him, I realized this is a very big and strong man. He basically just grabbed me by the neck last year, just went like this, and I was like, oh, I should be careful. And then months go by, and I forget that I should be careful, and I get a little sassy.
It's an analyst trick to take the fourth or fifth team in a conference and call them your favorite. Like Acho got very famous last year, big Tua guy, big Dolphins guy before everyone else was there. I think that's what Sims is doing with the Ravens. He sees them as the third or fourth team.
No,
like,
he actually studies all of these.
I'm just saying, he's doing the thing of let me take the team that's close, and I'll say they're my team.
We were invited, and we didn't follow up on it, to go to his house to do film study, but also he knew we weren't going to. But he's like, come on in the off season, and we'll watch all this tape together. And we're like, okay, when? And he's like, well, I don't actually want you at my house.
Well, Chris Sims is, though, actually breaking down the tape, and maybe Acho is doing this too, but Acho spends his Sundays doing bars and graphs about what's the take I can have that's going to get me noticed. Like, it's not about
move.
It's just what do I have to find?
Cowherd, I meant, not coward move. The cowherd move.
The Bayless. Mm-hmm.
The Bayless. I saw the last remnants of the Bayless where he comes after LeBron. Yeah, you did marijuana in high school, but was that the only time? It's just the last embers.
One last time.
It's just one last dance. One last dance where he's just got, looks for the place to attack LeBron. Am I to believe that, I don't care about this, he says. But am I to believe that high school was the only time that LeBron smoked marijuana?
Your thoughts, Lil Wayne. Red Hot Cessa Cyclones.
Hello, Stugotz.
Red Hot Cessa Cyclones. Won again.
Yes, baby. Yes. I can't wait till Friday night. I'll be there.
Top of the table.
Yes.
I'm going to go Friday.
At some point, we will discuss the Cesta Cyclones of Chris Cody and Mike Ryan. They didn't want to discuss anything about them last year when they were last place and terrible, couldn't catch the ball. But now all of a sudden they're running Jorge Masvidal off the court, Udonis Haslem off the court. They are celebration events. Ray Lewis shows up and inexplicably Roger Stone.
That's true, man. I don't know what the hell that guy was doing there.
What?
He was in a suit.
Huh.
Somebody wanted to see his Nixon tattoo. That's a thing that happened in 2023. Ron Magill is with us now. We have an assortment of animal questions. We always do. How would it have gone over, Ron, if last weekend one of your career achievements, bringing out an assortment of people to fight on behalf of the zoo as a private citizen, if Billy Gill had shown up in a costume in a protest across the street and had been pro-water park, against the bats and been out there arguing on behalf of who doesn't love a water park?
Well, I think what you're going to have is these hundreds of people might have gotten huge buckets of water and poured it all over them and said, here's your water park.
It's the problem with America these days. You can't have civil protest without violence erupting.
We can't stick to election results.
It wasn't violence. It was just giving them a shower.
Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
Chili's?
Chili's?
What has happened to your voice? Were you just at Chili's? What is going on? Stop eating in between.
Oh my God.
It's
segments.
coffee. It's not food.
Stop
I
ingesting
feel
anything.
terrible now. I was at Chili's.
Not
with
as
my
bad as
dear
the
How do you
bats
not hear it when that's happening? Do you not hear it when that's
I
happening?
just have to power through
no,
it.
no. When it starts, take the fine. Just clear your throat into the microphone.
I don't want the
You
fine.
don't have to do this.
Ron,
to
thank
us.
you.
So stop eating is what you're saying.
I didn't have. It's not food.
What did you take?
It's not food. It's coffee.
Great recreation by Mike.
I was not paid. I was having coffee.
Ron, why?
You hear that and you just power through.
What do you want him to do? Not eat?
Like, stop. Like, you don't have to say,
CD Lamb had 155 yards receiving.
Just throw.
It was an important division game for the team.
do that.
Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, Ron, were you at Chili's when he was there intent on protesting and you weren't there?
Well, I had fulfilled my obligation. I was there since 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had a dear friend show up that I wanted to at least give some lunch to because I understood that he had another obligation, and therefore I wanted to go to the place that was closest to us, which was right next door there at Chili's. I don't normally eat at Chili's, but I took it there, and I felt bad because, as it turned out, my friend really couldn't find anything that he wanted to eat there at Chili's.
I was told you were obligated to be there until 2 p.m. because I was headed down. I called Billy. He said you weren't there. I turned around, went home. I mean, what?
Okay.
Serious.
I'm sorry, Mr. Stu.
Greg, do you have a question for Ron Magill?
I do, Ron. I was sorry to hear about Barani, the Sumatra tiger. Tell the people about that story.
Yeah, Barani was our patriarch Sumatran tiger. He was almost 16 years old. The last week or so, he really started demonstrating some very abnormal behavior. He was losing his appetite. He wasn't really drinking. He seemed to be dehydrating. We immobilized him to do a thorough workup on him to see what's going on. The thing with wild animals is that they don't really show signs of being sick, unfortunately, until the sickness is way too progressed. And so we immobilized Barani. We brought him to the hospital. We did a total workups, ultrasounds, endoscopies, blood work, everything. And when all the tests came back, unfortunately, it showed that he had advanced cancer of the spleen. And that was unfortunately, at his age, an untreatable disease. There was nothing that we could do other than give him the death and dignity that he'd lived his life as. So he was humanely euthanized, so he wouldn't have to go through what would be excruciating pain and suffering at the outcome of that disease. So it was a very sad moment for us. But having said that, tigers in the wild usually live only about 12 to 14 years. The fact that he was almost 16 is pretty good testimony. And he had a good life here. He's sired 2 offspring previously, a male named Satu, a female named Dendari. Sumatran tiger is one of the rarest tigers in the world. They're believed less than 500 of them left in the wild. They are the smallest of all the subspecies of tigers. And I'll have a very, very special announcement to make regarding Barani's legacy that I will say first on this show when the opportunity arises. But it's very uplifting news. If you want to talk about, trying to make lemonades out of the lemon here, it's a testimony to what we call the circle of life.
I want to explain to the audience, because of the subject matter that we were just covering, why it is I was laughing while Ron Magill said advanced cancer of the spleen and was talking about an animal that he developed a real emotional attachment to, and he makes substantive attachment to some of these animals.
You were laughing too?
Well, I was laughing at something in particular. I don't know. I was not laughing about what he was talking about. What I was laughing about is that I saw spread throughout the shipping container them clearly playing the sound of me choking on my own coffee. And so I was just laughing at the joy they were getting from what I imagine this sounds like. Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
What
Chili's?
has happened to your voice?
Why? It sounds like... Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
What
Chili's?
has happened to your voice?
Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
What
Chili's?
has happened to your voice? 1 o'clock.
Usually phlegm comes and goes. That is just covering every word.
Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
What
Chili's?
has happened to your voice?
It's a layer.
I can't even tell the difference between you and Mike there. Mike did a really good job of reproducing that.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
It's good. It's
Got
good.
some Harry Carey to it.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. It feels like someone is holding me down by the throat as I'm trying to talk.
Everyone close your eyes. Imagine Dan.
1 o'clock. Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
What has
Chili's?
happened to your voice?
It also has a hint, I believe, of some Ethel Merman. Why, when Billy showed up at 1 o'clock, were you at
What
Chili's?
has happened to your voice?
Ethel
Who's
Merman.
Ethel Merman?
Greg's wheelhouse.
Why do you not move up?
Why? How does that not speak to you? Doesn't that sound like the beginning of an Ethel Merman
Why,
song?
when Billy showed up at 1
show
o'clock,
tune
were
of
you
some
at
What
sort?
has
Chili's?
happened to your voice?
All right, moving on to other things. Ron, why was the protest? Why was it something that was so meaningful to you?
I'll tell you why, Dan, because, hundreds of people showed up in a morning where when I woke up, I watched the weather. It was drizzling outside my house, and the weather said it's going to be a miserable morning, horrible rain all day long. And I said I told Rita, my wife, I said, we're going to be the only ones there. Nobody's going to show up. And yet hundreds of people showed up, and many of them young people, kids in high school, junior high school, even younger than that. And that was very inspirational to me, very inspiring, because these kids are showing that they care about the environment. There are better things to do for kids on a Saturday morning than to be out there holding signs about saving wildlife. So I was really inspired to see hundreds of people show up. I think it's a testimony to the culture that's changing around here about people thinking, you know what, environment is more important than a water park right now. And especially coming from kids, I thought that was very meaningful.
Nesting season for green sea turtles here in Florida has saw a record 74,300 nests. Hell yeah!
Yes.
It beat the previous record by 40%. What went into this?
Well, I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. A lot of stars had to align as far as currents and temperatures and things like that, but it's also just a combination of people being aware and protecting the beaches, people changing their lighting along the beaches. It's education. It's all of that combined. It shows that we can make a difference, guys. We really can make a difference if we're listening and we're making these small changes. It can be advantageous for wildlife. It's like we saw in the pandemic. When things kind of shut down, animals started showing up in places we never seen them before. If we just do a little bit, each one of us does a little bit, we can make a big difference. And that is reflected in these green sea turtles. I think it's just a wonderful set of news. It brings some optimism when it seems like all we're hearing these days is a bunch of pessimistic news.
Ron, I was surprised the other day when I saw a video of an owl when someone kind of raised up their feathers to see how long owls' legs actually were. Oh, yeah. Are there other animals that have secretly long extremities or things that are disguised by hair or something else?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one. Birds, of course, classic for that. I can't really think off the top of my head. I don't really know. I mean, the thing that I'm always amazed at when you talk is not legs, but tongues, animal tongues. You'd be surprised at animals how long some of their tongues are. They're really, it's amazing that they can fit that thing in their mouth.
Like which ones?
A giraffe. I mean, giraffe, you got a 20-inch tongue that comes out. The thing looks like like an appendage that comes out of its mouth. Looks like an alien, Look at chameleons. Their tongue can come out several times the length of their body, man. Look at anteaters, giant anteaters. Another thing that comes out, several feet, man. This thing is incredible. And it rolls up. Woodpeckers have a tongue that kind of rolls up in I don't know how to explain it, in their head, and it comes out and whoop. That's unbelievable.
Ron, talking about the owls really quick, have you seen the video of scientists testing the owls' wings and how it's silent, basically? They test other birds, too, and how they flap wings, you can hear them. And the owl goes from 30 feet or 40 feet, and it's completely silent all the way to the prey. Why is that?
It's because they have special feathers. They have adapted feathers in the front of their wings that act as silencers. So it buffers the air, it closes the air out, and it's an adaptation. Listen, it's a nocturnal feeder, right? If you're feeding and the mouse is on the ground eating its grass, not eating the grass, if the owl's going to be flapping, flop, flop, the mouse is going to go, oh, incoming, I got to get out of here. But the owl doesn't do that. The owl's the silent. It's the stealth bomber of predatory birds at nighttime. Mouse is eating, it's over, it's dead. So it's fantastic.
Ron, let's play some videos for you here. Let me see the first one. What is the first one of? Is it a possum? Is it a deer? What do we have? We've got a possum here on the field being taken off the field against its will.
That's not good.
It's shrieking.
That's not good.
It's deeply unhappy because
absolutely. That's a horrible video.
Yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing there?
We're abusing an animal is what we're doing there. That's horrible.
Taking a possum off the field with that tool is a bad way to do it.
Yeah, what's protocol here on how to remove?
Well, first of all, I want to know the backstory behind that. Is this somebody's pet that they had on the
No, this is a college football game, and a possum ran onto the field and disrupted, and they had to figure out how to get the possum out of
That sounds like the chubby checker announcer in the Notre Dame game.
What they should have done is they should have gone out into the field with a sky kennel, a kennel that when they caught the possum, put him in the kennel and cover the kennel in a towel so he's not exposed to all that external stimulus that is freaking him out.
Okay, but maybe they did do that at a certain point, but how else do you drag a possum off the field?
Listen, You don't do it at a certain point. You do it as soon as you get the possum. You're not dragging it even 2 feet. Okay. I'm watching that video. They're dragging it more than that. Wrong. Sorry.
But stadiums don't come with those.
What about a tranquilizer dart?
You're not always expecting
on a possum. You just put it in a sky kennel, cover it up with a towel to try to, take away the external stimulus and get it into a safe. That's ridiculous what I see happening there. Yeah, they caught it with a catch ball and they're just dragging it off. Doing it so lackluster. Come on, guys. That's not right.
Let me see the deer video. Deer in restaurant. Let me see. I don't know whether this is Wisconsin or
enjoying a
meal.
Oh, hello, doctor.
Wow.
Yeah,
Deers are dangerous.
We had a
man.
reservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cleared out the restaurant. Well, obviously, probably went through a pane of glass or something and was disoriented, and now is probably more frightened than the people running out of there. But it is a buck, and certainly has the potential to do some damage if you get in its way. So I would certainly get out of its way. But boy, that can clear a restaurant better than a fire alarm.
Ron, I don't know if you caught the Manning cast yesterday, but Arnold Schwarzenegger apparently has a donkey that lives inside of his house that he feeds
yes,
cookies.
Yes, very famous, that donkey.
Is that recommended?
No, it's not recommended, but it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He has the funding to provide the type of space the donkey needs. Donkeys are very, very intelligent animals, contrary to popular belief. And he's obviously got a very close bond with that animal, which I respect. I have the ultimate respect for him. He is an animal lover, and I know he's caring for that animal better than anybody possibly could.
Ron, I have a question, probably off topic. Do you know Jimmy Johnson?
I have met Jimmy Johnson on several occasions.
All right, we'll talk off air. Okay?
Ron, thank you. Good talking to you, sir. Good catching up
Thank
with
you, guys. Take care.
Bye.